Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Jennifer Lindgren. A fire broke out at the historic Lindenwold House in Chemung County last night. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst has a look at the damage and tells us this is not the first time for the structure to catch fire.
Good evening, Jennifer. Fire crews worked for hours to put out the fire at the Lindenwold House last night. The building has served residents in the Elmira area for well over 100 years. Fire crews were called to the historic Lindenwold House after reports of a fire on Monday night. Photos and videos from local residents captured the extent of the damage as the fire tore through most of the roof. The fire mirrored a similar incident at the historic building nearly 12 years ago.
There was one on December 5th in 2010 that started in the attic and forced the evacuation of the people who were there at the time.
Rachel Dworkin with the Chemung Historical Society says the building has served the residents of Elmira for 146 years. The building was first used as an assisted living facility before turning into a bed and breakfast and event venue. Residents throughout the area reflected their connections to the house online.
There are a lot of people who have memories associated with that building because it's where they got married or because it's where they held some party or whatever.
Investigators are working to piece together what started last night's fire. The building is currently vacant and up for sale. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The Trumansburg Central School District experienced a COVID outbreak among staff members, forcing the elementary school to close on Monday. In total, 21 elementary staff are COVID positive or at home with symptoms. Students were subject to online learning today and expected to return to class on Wednesday. The New York Department of Corrections announced that 8,000 parolees will be released from supervision by the end of the week. The department stated that this move is meant to expedite releases under the Less is More Act. Over 5,400 parolees have been released since the law was passed back in September. The additional 8,000 releases will reduce the state's parolee population from 31,000 to just under 26,000. The FDA authorizes a second booster shot of the Pfizer and Moderna coronavirus vaccines for people 50 and older. The shots can be given at least 4 months after a first booster dose. The approval comes as a more transmissible version of the Omicron variant becomes dominant in the United States. Experts believe even a short-term immunity boost among those at risk for severe illness could provide a valuable layer of protection. The second booster is expected to become available immediately after the CDC reaches a decision on who should get it. The CDC is expected to say that people over 50 may get a fourth shot instead of giving an explicit recommendation to do so. Russia signals a shift in strategy and perhaps a pullback from areas close to Ukraine's capital. As Madeline Rivera tells us, peace talks in Turkey between the country's delegations wrap up on Tuesday.
As the world waits to see the outcome of these peace talks in Istanbul, Russia is announcing a strategy change that some see as the most tangible sign yet of progress towards de-escalation in Ukraine.
Russian Defense Ministry made a decision to radically, by a large margin, reduce military activity in the Kyiv and Chernihiv directions.
The shift comes as Ukraine lays out a possible framework for a future peace deal. It's asking for legally binding security guarantees and is willing to make some concessions in return.
We won't, as required by our Ukrainian constitution, host in our territory foreign military bases and foreign troops, and we won't join military and political blocs.
But U.S. officials say they're skeptical of Russia's comments and regard troop movements around Kyiv as a redeployment, not a withdrawal. They're warning of another major offensive in other parts of Ukraine, adding the threat to the country's capital isn't over.
Nobody should be fooling ourselves by the Kremlin's now recent claim that it will suddenly just reduce military attacks near Kyiv, or any reports that it's going to withdraw all its forces.
After speaking with the leaders of France, Germany, Italy, and the UK, President Biden underscored their goal to continue punishing Russia for its attacks and double down on their commitment to support Ukraine. The president, too, is wary of Russia's announcement to pull back.
We'll see if they follow through.
Russia claims it's ready to set up a meeting between Putin and Zelensky once a draft peace agreement between the two sides is in place. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
The House committee looking into the attack on the Capitol last year has run into more pushback. Now, more than 7.5 hours of missing phone logs from that day has the committee digging for more. Lauren Blanchard has the story from Washington.
The January 6th House Select Committee wants to know who former President Trump talked to during the Capitol attack, but nearly 8 hours of White House phone logs are missing from that day.
Do you think the former president was using a burner phone?
I'm not going to speculate on what was happening, but we know he was communicating.
The committee continues to dig for information on the insurrection, but they've faced resistance from some members of the former administration.
Executive privilege doesn't belong to just any White House official. It belongs to the president.
On Monday night, the committee found Dan Scavino and Peter Navarro in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with subpoenas. Both have claimed executive privilege.
I think the country understands this is political. This is designed to keep President Trump off the ballot so he can't run again.
The panel could also turn their sights on the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Ginny Thomas. She reportedly was texting with former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows about how to overturn the 2020 election results.
If you want to take issue with her, that's fine, but she's not on the bench.
Now a handful of Democratic lawmakers are calling for Justice Thomas's resignation or impeachment.
I think there should be some kind of code of ethics for Supreme Court justices. There's enough evidence already, I believe, that he should recuse himself.
The full House must vote on any contempt charges. Then it's up to the Justice Department whether they'll pursue them. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Still ahead, your complete forecast. Plus, a new study is warning about a spike in prediabetes in teens. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Thanks again for checking in. Hopefully you enjoyed your Tuesday. We had a little bit of cloud cover out there, not as cloudy as it was Monday with those scattered snow showers pushing through, but the radar and satellite imagery from earlier today, really kind of a beautiful picture here. These are clouds, but noticing the white on the ground, those are the snow showers that we had from the weekend and into Monday, and still again some snow on the ground. But overnight we are expecting temps to be falling just a little bit here, winds out of the west, and generally pretty light with some clearing skies. No weather worries this evening. It will be chilly though, 16 when you wake up in Elmira Corning. Average overnight low is 27, so we'll be around 10 degrees below that. Sunrise is at 6:52 and our sunset is at 7:30. By the way, daytime high on Wednesday, nearly 10 degrees below the average as well. So clouds will be thickening up and we're going to be turning windy as that storm system moves on in. We have a wintry mix expected Wednesday. In fact, a winter weather advisory from the morning and into the early afternoon for some light snow potential and light ice glazed areas, especially to the west of Elmira Corning, and then some showers and thunderstorms on Thursday as we really warm up. So as I mentioned, a winter weather advisory for the morning, generally the first half of the day on Wednesday for that light snow and ice chance. Clouds really starting to thicken up during the morning hours of Wednesday, and then here it is. You can see that green and pink, and that is that light rain and icing potential. Could even mix in with some snowfall potential as well. We get a break in that precipitation, and then later in the day Thursday is when the bulk of that precipitation will begin to slide on into the region. And that, of course, was kind of the look at the visible satellite imagery following the snow threats that we had on Monday, as I mentioned. So again, looking at a little bit of light snow, as I mentioned, on Wednesday morning in the first half of the day. Could even see a little bit of that icing off to the south and west of us. We will be waking up to some chilly conditions, though, at 16 with fairly light winds and mostly clear skies. Of course, with those temperatures
It will feel a little bit on the cooler side in the morning, maybe down into the lower teens, and then feeling like the, say, upper 20s by the afternoon and into the 30s as we approach the dinner hour as that storm system begins to slide on in. The winds will be picking up out of the southwest with gusts later in the day up to near 20 miles per hour. So 41 degrees, chance of a wintry mix early in the day. Watch those roads. They could be slippery, especially off and on ramps and some of the overpasses, but temperatures generally a good 10 degrees below average on Wednesday. Here we go. Thursday, windy, showers and thunderstorms likely. Later on, it'll be into the 60s, almost 15 to 20 degrees above average. Cooler Friday with some lingering showers. Nicer day on Saturday. The sun returns, but it will be cooler, dropping down into the 40s. Have a good one.
A new way of learning for some high school students in Colorado, all thanks to a new mobile classroom. Dan DeRoe has the story.
So then we're putting them in the lateral position. How many pillows do we need?
18-year-old Vanessa Sanchez and Charlize Medellin Reyes want to work in the medical profession.
I want to become an RN, a registered nurse, and study in oncology, which is cancer.
I want to become a cardiovascular surgeon.
Yes, your red cells, your white cells.
The girls are now pursuing their nursing assistant certificate, a $2,000 value, at no cost to them.
A lot of times the students live too far away from our office, and so our school, and so we want to go to them.
Destinations Career Academy of Colorado is a homeschool high school academy, online.
You're going to feel a quick poke.
And in person.
Very good, 8 to 10 times.
Via the mobile medical lab.
That was easy, right?
In addition to receiving a high school diploma, students can pursue any of the additional courses to give them a head start in their chosen field.
We have law, and so they can go through that, IT, engineering, business, and then we have like an outdoor club. Here's your call this year. This is our first year doing it, so we just like got this thing done and ready to go, and we've got 14, 15, 16, about 17 students total.
1, 2, 3.
There we go.
And 2 of those students, Sanchez and Reyes, will have their nurse's assistant certificate
Slowly lower her back down.
in a few weeks.
Money-wise, it's definitely a lifesaver.
It's free education, not necessarily, but free education. It's like, wow, so going into college, I already have this on my record.
Bossman says the mobile medical van is the first of its kind in Colorado, but surely more will follow.
Diabetes is significantly affecting teens in the U.S. as new research reveals alarming numbers. A recent study published by JAMA Pediatrics found almost 30% of teens nationwide can have prediabetes. Analysts studied more than 6,000 teenagers ages 12 to 19 from 1999 to 2018, checking their progress every 2 years. They found nearly 30% of teens had prediabetes between 2015 and 2018. That's up from the 12% discovered in 2002. The CDC says 1 in 5 teenagers in that age range have prediabetes. The Department of Justice lends its support to a new antitrust bill targeting big tech. And Chris Rock cashes in big on the Oscar slap seen around the world. Cheryl Casoni has these stories and more in today's Business Briefs.
The Justice Department is backing an antitrust bill that targets big tech companies like Amazon and Google from favoring their own products and services over competitors. In a letter to lawmakers debating the bill, the DOJ says the rise of dominant platforms presents a threat to open markets and competition. But opponents say the bill would make it harder to offer popular services, while several companies say it's fair for big tech to profit from the services they create. Well, new car sales could fall to the lowest first quarter volume in the past decade. That's according to a new report by research firm Cox Automotive. The firm predicting U.S. car and light truck sales will fall by more than 24% for March and more than 16% in the first quarter. Cox believes chip shortages, rising prices, and the crisis in Ukraine is to blame and is pushing less affluent buyers out of the market. And it looks like Chris Rock is getting the last laugh on that Will Smith Oscar slap.
Uh-oh, Richard! Oh, wow!
Demand and ticket prices for his upcoming comedy tour have surged. Less than 2 weeks ago, tickets were just $46. Now tickets range from $300 to $400.
Drought conditions continue to impact the water levels at Lake Mead, Nevada, even leading to the closure of a boat launch ramp. Drew Andre has more.
More boats are back on the water as things heat up for this season.
Breathtaking, beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing
view.
Amazing.
Had a spectacular time.
Yeah.
This group from Georgia is celebrating a birthday weekend in Las Vegas and chose to spend the warm day on the water.
We really thought that Lake Mead was beautiful, and we wanted to experience it firsthand.
But within the beautiful views, they of course notice what we are all aware of, the strikingly low lake levels. I'm on the marina where all the boats are docked here at Colville Bay. Behind us is the boat launch ramp that Thursday it was announced was closing indefinitely because the topography is changing, meaning those water levels just continue to drop. And just a year ago, the lake water line was a good 50 yards back to where I'm standing right now. But if I take you back to 2008, that parking lot out there, that used to be the launch ramp.
I'm going to go down to Lake Mojave and to Lake Havasu a little bit more now. You know, that we're somewhat limited up here. That also causes for longer lines on holiday weekends because now there are fewer launch ramps available.
On the Nevada side, leaving just the long drive to Echo Bay or Hemingway Harbor's launch ramp that can't hold larger boats.
They're not going to be able to launch there. They're going to have to drive to Echo Bay, and then they're going to have to use all their fuel just to get down here.
Marty Schwartzer has had a boat docked on Colville Bay for 40 years. Those with dock slips were given about a month's heads up about the closure.
That hurts the marina business too. These people buy a lot of stuff at the marina store and things like that.
We had those hour-long waits last season, and that was with Colville open. Now Colville's closed. I can only imagine what the season's going to be like with the holiday weekends and everything.
A mix of emotions to start the season, but regulars like Hamilton will make sure to still find their way back to the water.
U.S. border officials are bracing for another major surge of illegal immigration. The influx is expected if COVID restrictions are allowed to expire on Wednesday. William Lajeunesse has more from Los Angeles.
We're completely being overwhelmed. There's already sections of border that aren't being patrolled today, and that's going to be even more so in April.
That's when border agents expect a new surge of migrants following the possible lifting of Title 42, the CDC's public health rule used to deport 1.7 million immigrants the last 2 years. Without it, agents say most migrants will qualify for humanitarian parole or seek asylum.
We don't even have the transportation for them. How long are they going to be here? Who will take care of them? Does it fall on the responsibility of the community?
And that concern is real. Last month, agents apprehended almost 165,000 migrants, more than half deported under Title 42. This month, apprehensions are expected to exceed 200,000, almost 7,000 a day. That's a city the size of Houston entering the U.S. illegally each year. Without Title 42, the Border Patrol expects up to 18,000 apprehensions daily.
The surge is happening now. It's just going to get worse. And you're going to see more and more people just released into the streets in those local communities.
Arizona Senators Mark Kelly and Kyrsten Sinema told President Biden it was premature to consider changes to Title 42, predicting chaos at the border in a post-Title 42 scenario. Tiny Uvalde, Texas is already seeing a surge as many migrants aren't waiting for the CDC.
This afternoon they were going to release 103. They got stopped. We only had buses for 88.
Now, it's possible the CDC will not repeal the rule entirely, allowing DHS to admit families, but not single adults. Another option, leaving the rule in place another 60 days because of the new Omicron variant.
We want to leave you with a smile. A man in Portland, Oregon is leaving a tribute to Ukraine for everyone to see. Alexander Titenko's home is perfectly positioned on a busy road with lots of passing cars. He decided to paint the colors of the Ukrainian flag on the side of his house and cover the rest of the home with tributes to Ukraine. Titenko says he decided to create this tribute to show solidarity with the Ukrainian people and to bring attention to the ongoing Russian war in Ukraine.
It's really highway and you see how loud it is. So a lot of people driving by here, and I have a big light at night so shines on it so people can see it at night.
Titenko is a native of Ukraine and grew up in the now hard-hit city of Mariupol. He moved to the United States in his late teens and is now an American citizen. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.